Right.
And as it turns out, the bill actually creates a lot more opportunities for people to vote. It creates more days for people to vote. It even offers more machines, more poll workers to stations that have too long of lines. Everything in the bill is meant to encourage voting and protect the integrity of Georgia elections.
Biden has just been on a war path lately on multiple types of issues. Immigration, total lack of transparency. One of his latest war paths is calling the new Georgia election law the latest Jim Crow laws, which could not be more inaccurate. Like, it is so offensive to listen to him speak and claim that the Georgia voting law is a Jim Crow law.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
He called it Jim Crow in the 21st century.
Yeah,
he called it Jim Crow on steroids, and he called it an atrocity, this bill. And
Just like the filibuster that he supported.
Yes, it
And
is.
talked
Yes.
passionately in defense of in the past. How wonderful the filibuster is.
well, it's when Democrats use the filibuster, it's really good.
It's what,
Yeah.
It was 200 something times, 300 something times last time they had control.
Yeah, I believe so.
They used it
or
last-
the last time they were in the
Yeah,
minority.
they used it
Yeah.
last year. Republicans didn't use
gosh.
it once. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's not just Biden. Pretty much everyone on the left. There's reporters, there's
Delta,
activists.
Coca-Cola,
Companies,
the morons
the
at the MLB.
They're all saying that this law is voter suppression, that it prevents minorities from voting.
They do know a lot about this, given the existence of the Negro Leagues in the past and professional baseball's complete unwillingness to allow blacks. They really do know about racism.
Yes, and Delta.
They know how to execute on racism.
Delta says voter ID is racist, and yet they require an ID. To
Right.
planes. So I guess
I
that's-
demand I fly without an ID now.
That's
I do.
flying suppression
Yeah.
or travel suppression, I guess.
Travel suppression.
But there's been, in addition to people saying that voter ID is racist or whatever, there's a lot of other narratives coming out of this bill. Like, people are saying that it gives Republicans unbridled control over the election process. There's people saying that it bans the passing out of food and water
Yeah,
to
you
people
can't.
waiting in line.
You're standing an hour for 7 hours in line for 7 hours to vote. First off, I've never seen that happen.
No.
Secondly, it doesn't actually do it. You're going to get it.
And
That's a lie.
I put out a report earlier today that basically just I read through the bill. I compared all the claims against it to what was actually in it. And as it turns out, the bill actually creates a lot more opportunities for people to vote. It creates more days for people to vote. It even offers more machines, more poll workers to stations that have too long of lines. Everything in the bill is meant to encourage voting and protect the integrity of Georgia elections. And for example, my favorite one is when people say that not the banning of handing out food and water to voters is somehow discouraging voters from voting. Like, somehow, if there's a bunch of African Americans waiting to vote in Georgia, and if they're parched, that's going to convince them not to vote because they can't get water.
If they're parched.
But as it turns out,
the Saharan desert.
The parched voter,
Yeah.
the overlooked minority.
the law does not ban water for people waiting in line. It bans partisan groups from giving gifts or water or food to people waiting in line, which, a practice known as line warming.
Cigarettes.
You're not allowed to do any electioneering right outside of the poll when people are about to vote. That's people, they use that opportunity to pressure them into voting a certain way, to influence their vote. And the bill actually says that poll workers are allowed to hand out water if they need to, and there will be made available self-service water stations for electors waiting in line to vote.
So this is your piece is the antidote, really, to all of these.
And, when it comes to the voter ID part of the law, so it requires, all voters who vote absentee, there's no, universal unsolicited mail-in voting in Georgia, but all voters who vote by absentee, they're required to have a form of identification. That can be a driver's license or a state ID, and Georgia's state IDs are free, so anyone can get a state ID in Georgia. And going even further, if you don't have either of those and you're voting for the first time for the first time at all, you can use a utility bill, bank statement, government check, paycheck, or any other government document that has your name and address on it. You can use that as a form of ID, and you can vote. So
It's people, yeah.
And before, yet 97% of Georgia's citizens already have either a state ID or a driver's license.
Right.
So there's no way if you want to vote, voter ID law is not going to prevent you from voting in Georgia.